Welcome to the project. Tonight, the world reacts after a shambolic showdown between Trump and Zelenskyy. We cross to Ukraine for the latest.
Tears, revenge kisses and killer performances. We've got all the highlights from this year's Oscars.
Wow. Plus, fasten your seatbelts. We chat with the potty mouth star of Drive to Survive, Guenther Steiner.
Hey. And new research has found who out of men or women fall in love the quickest. Here's a clue. They also finish faster. So read into that as you will.
We're live from the lands of the Cooler Nation. One man we love very much is Stephen Price.
Started well.
We're on fire, Pricey.
He didn't like it.
Would you say you've fallen in love with Samuel more and more and more the more you get to work with him?
I love you,
Can't
Pricey.
wait for that chat about falling in love quickly.
Do you love us,
Firing
Pricey?
up.
No.
Oh, a long pause,
Great.
isn't it?
Let's get into today's top stories. Nicky Winmar is again looking to take a stand against racism. The former AFL star has joined the class action alleging that the league failed to protect Indigenous players from racial abuse. A judge will decide if Winmar can become a co-lead plaintiff alongside former player Phil Cracker. It comes 30 years after that iconic moment at Victoria Park.
In 1993, when he stood up against racial vilification to today, he really stands to fight to eradicate racial vilification in the game.
Now, for the first time in 35 years, a cyclone watch has been issued for northern New South Wales as Tropical Cyclone Alfred barrels towards Australia's east coast. The Category 1 system is likely to be upgraded tonight and could be the first cyclone to make landfall in southeast Queensland in 50 years if it does cross the coast. Residents from Bundaberg to the New South Wales border are being urged to take the warnings seriously. Queensland's Premier David Crisafulli is busy. He is making preparations for the incoming cyclone. David, a lot of the residents across southeast Queensland will just never have experienced a cyclone before. Do you think they're ready for this?
I'm certain they are, and they've proven themselves over recent years in the way that they've responded to flooding. And in many cases, flooding in a cyclone is often the biggest challenge. So, yes, it's a little different in that there's the prospect of some pretty strong winds. But provided people do the little things now, and that is make sure that you clean your home of all the debris on the outside, do the gutters, stock up with water and get all your documents in a safe place. If you do those little things, I've got every confidence that people will get through it. We're just giving the messaging early. We're making sure that we're delivering it as cleanly, as clearly as possible. And thank you for the opportunity to do so on your program tonight.
Premier, we're hearing about monster swells off the coast. What are you expecting that impact will be, particularly if you get a high tide that might coincide with it?
Yeah, well, that's the complexity. If a system crosses on the high tide, it makes a massive difference than if it is on the low tide, and history has shown that to us. Interestingly, we've already recorded some pretty reasonably big wave levels that we haven't seen before. For example, off the coast of Wide Bay, we got a report yesterday of a 15-metre swell off the coast of Wide Bay. We've even got reports of north of 4 metres in Brisbane. So, you know, it's definitely, if you look at some of the coastal erosions right up and down the coast, it shows you that the system is packing a punch. Now, we've looked at all the modelling, and there are obviously some variables. You mentioned before about the strength of the system. It's yo-yoed between a Category 1 and a 2. It's a 1 at the moment, expected to strengthen back to a 2 tonight. We've put that warning zone out, and the Bureau says that that's anywhere between that Gary Island all the way through to beyond the border, Grafton, in fact, in northern New South Wales. So the strength, the exact location, even the timing's variable because it can change speeds. So the Bureau's talking about crossing somewhere in that Thursday, Friday. The one thing that all of the models are showing at this stage is all of the models are saying that from tonight, it will start tracking back towards the coast. And you articulated very clearly in the introduction, this is a very rare event. 1990, we had an event that came very, very close to Coolangatta and then went back out to sea. That was a Category 1. You have to go back to 1973, a Category 2 cyclone that actually did cross the coast. So it is rare. It's not unprecedented, but it is rare. But if people do the little things and get ready, I've got every faith that the community will be able to handle this.
And Premier, there is a lot for you to be keeping your eye across. And just quickly before we let you go, one of those things, the season opener of the AFL slotted for Thursday night. Is this cyclone going to rain on that parade?
Well, time will tell. I've been in contact with the Lions CEO quite a bit. They're very, very keen to play it, obviously. We'll give them the information and we'll get them to make their decision. I'm mindful that by some freak of good fortune, both clubs have a bye in round 3, so that could provide a backup plan. But I'm not the CEO of the AFL nor the CEO of the Lions, and both of them will do an excellent job. We'll give them the information. We'll treat them exactly as we're treating our residents. This is everything that we have in real time. They'll make a decision, and I'm certain they'll make the right one.
The Dolphins on Friday, I think,
Yeah.
as well at some point. Premier, thank you very much for your time.
Good on you. Thanks, mate.
Guys, now serious up there. Huge weather warnings happening across southern Queensland right now. But look, if you don't trust the bomb, if you don't believe in it, I always think, look to the animals. Trust the animals.
We're just hoping everyone stays safe and all the places we love don't get destroyed.
Yeah. It hasn't kept you clearly away from dog walking this morning.
Oh, we know they're going to be caught up for quite a few days.
Yeah.
We're in Pelican, and last time it flooded, we were cut off. So we want to make sure they get a bit of exercise.
Look,
Sorry,
they've got to go.
That's okay. I'll let you go.
They've got an arc to get to. You know? It's serious stuff.
Because they're the two.
They're the last two.
Only two make it.
Absolutely. They're the two.
They want to be there. Whistleblower David McBride is appealing his conviction and the severity of his sentence for leaking classified material to the ABC. You might remember that material was used in an expose of alleged war crimes by Australian troops in Afghanistan. His lawyers will argue that his sentence failed to take into account his selfless motivations, that's the quote, and that he felt it was his duty to leak the information.
And Formula One's new swearing ban has Aussie driver Oscar Piastri hot under the collar. He and his fellow drivers face race bans and fines of up to $200,000 if they use obscene language. Apparently, it's so that F-bombs and the like do not get broadcast during race coverage, but Piastri reportedly says it's unrealistic to expect drivers to say nothing when the adrenaline is running so high.
Amen.
60 grand for the first offence, and it goes up double that, then it ends up at 200 if you do it 3 times. Max Verstappen, that's pocket change for him.
Yeah,
Maybe to find that down the side of his seat.
So you reckon he does it 12 times a race just to see how it goes?
But also,
test it out.
For an Australian doing this is impossible. This is great. Oscar's going to be bankrupt.
This is an anti-Australian move?
Absolutely, this is so cruel to Australian drivers.
Oscar's, you know, he's pretty even-tempered, right? So I think if there was one driver that may be able to, you know, get.
But I think what
away
Sam's
with
saying
this.
is he might have a cool exterior,
Yeah,
but
but
between
even-
it is Australia.
Exactly. He's Australian deep top. What I would do if I was an F1 driver, or when I become an F1 driver,
Yeah, so you're right.
is I will create a fake language.
Oh.
With fake swear words. Well, they'll be real swear words, but no one will know what the swear words are.
Yeah.
And then I'll be going crazy and I'll have money in my pocket.
That's a very good idea.
I did 2 laps of Albert Park in a 2-seater F1 car,
Yes.
and I would have lost my house. They're all gone.
Yes, I agree. So Sam, once you're on the track, maybe.
Yeah.
Do you know
can
who
do
we
that.
must ask about this?
Yes.
Guenther Steiner.
Yes. My God.
Because if anyone
Yes.
should have an opinion on swearing in Formula One, it is Guenther Steiner.
that
and he's
man.
coming up in a bit later in the show. That'd be fun.
Welcome back. You're watching The Project.
The West is rallying behind Ukraine after Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Donald Trump's trainwreck showdown at the White House over the weekend. Allies scrambling to salvage the situation.
We are at a crossroads in history today.
The peace of a continent on a knife's edge.
Once in a generation moment for the security of Europe.
18 leaders from Europe and Canada rushing to London for crisis talks. King Charles among those standing with Ukraine's president.
This is not a moment for more talk. It's time to act.
I stand with Volodymyr Zelenskyy, and I stand with the people of Ukraine.
The group closing ranks around Ukraine after an epic spat between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskyy rocked Western diplomacy as we know it.
If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin.
It was extraordinary diplomacy, I must say, or perhaps failure diplomacy.
Members of Trump's team today doubling down.
We'll be ready to re-engage when they're ready to make peace, which is clearly what the president's goal is here.
But the UK is adamant Europe's relationship with the US is still on firm ground.
I do not accept that the US is an unreliable ally. The US has been a reliable ally to the UK for many, many decades.
Zelenskyy too confident Ukraine can salvage a key minerals deal left unsigned by Trump in the fracas.
From our side, we are ready to sign. I honestly think the United States will be ready as well. Maybe they need time to analyse some things.
UK PM Keir Starmer presenting a 4-point plan to end the war and bring Donald Trump back into the fold.
To ensure that we stay in lockstep with the United States.
On the table, billions more European defence dollars for the war effort, putting Ukraine at the centre of any peace talks and boosting its defence capabilities to deter future invasions.
Fourth, we will develop a coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to guarantee the peace.
The UK promising boots on the ground if necessary. Canada not ruling out sending in its own peacekeepers down the track.
As I've said a few days ago, everything's on the table.
Back home, our own pollies were in lockstep with their European allies.
We regard this as an issue of doing what's right, but also what is in Australia's national interest.
President Zelenskyy is a modern day hero. He's a war hero and he deserves support.
So as the West ramps up its support and Trump digs in, where does all this leave Ukraine?
Well, Ina Sovsun is a Ukrainian opposition MP and is here to give us her take on the situation. Ina, what's the feeling in Ukraine been about all of this?
Well, I think it's fair to say that the first feeling we had was that of a shock. We just couldn't believe that this is actually happening, that this is happening in the Oval. And second, when we started thinking about what caused that shock, I think it was this extreme feeling of injustice, that it was the president of the country that has been attacked by Russians, who is being, bullied in the Oval, yet at the same time, the same administration is being nice and cozy to the Russians. So we have to talk to them, but nobody wants just to give up on America, and nobody hopes that, this is a done deal and nobody talks to DC any longer.
European leaders got together very quickly. What do you make of what you've seen out of that meeting today?
Well, it went better than we expected. There were some promises of additional weapons that were to be delivered. There was a conversation about the ceasefire, of course, which is still a bit unclear about the exact terms of what is being offered. So it's very difficult to comment on that. I think it's a bit too early to say. But in general, our feeling is that it went better than we expected.
That message, it's still based on winning the US over here for European leaders. So do you think that's realistic?
I believe that at the end of the day, both Ukrainians, Europeans, Americans, Australians, we all share the same values at our core. We all believe in democracy, we all believe in human rights and in respect to human dignity. I think that is most important thing. That is what differentiates us from Russians, who are the aggressive state in this matter. So I think it's something that we have to keep in mind. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be something that we just, President Zelenskyy calls back President Trump and then fixes everything. No, it's going to take time. It's going to take a while, and it's going to take efforts. But I don't want to see the divide between Europe and America, because, and that's critically important to remember, there will be only one winner if that divide takes place, and his name is Vladimir Putin.
So, are you saying that if the US were to wipe its hands and just walk away, that Europe couldn't step in and provide sufficient help, that it's just not enough, that America has to, there is no way without the US?
Well, there is a way. It's scary. It's not something that we take easily, but based on the briefings we have had from the Ministry of Defense, it's going to be difficult for us without American aid. But there is substitutes in Europe and in other allies countries that can help us in terms of military aid. So it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be doable.
What a time it is, and what a moment it is for Ukraine and indeed for the world watching on. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, Australians, for all your support.
Our project coming up after the break.
Welcome back to the project, Sam.
Guys, now footy is back, and I am pumped, mainly because now Walid will stop talking about Liverpool winning the Premier League. It's boring.
Can we talk a bit more about that?
I can unmute the group chat now. All right, let's dive into sport. It's time for...
13 points, Sam.
Let's go to Vegas, far away from Liverpool. For the NRL, where the Panthers' Nathan Cleary copped a big hit in their win over the Sharks. Look at that. Bang. And he did not mince words describing the incident.
You copped a big hit down here. What was it, grade 5 winded? Grade 5 winded. I could not breathe. I felt like the biggest pussy.
Oh, Nathan, no, pussies always land on their feet.
Excellent point.
Thank you. Let's talk high school basketball. We don't talk about it enough on this show because I'm just wondering whether you guys think this is a foul or not. So here we go, bit of defence. Yeah. It's crazy. Apparently the other player's been having a lot of trouble dribbling. Rest of the game.
That deserved
Basketball joke. To soccer, where former UK PM Rishi Sunak copped an absolute whack from this commentator while watching his beloved Southampton get destroyed.
Rishi Sunak, relegated last year. His football club will be relegated this year. That's a rare double for you.
I love calling it relegated. It makes him sound like he got relegated to be the leader of a worse country. Hear that, Albo? If you don't get up, we're sending you to New Zealand, mate. Now, in cricket news, the Champions Trophy in Pakistan saw games washed out, despite this ground crew doing their absolute best.
We have some good news, which
so look
is
at this guy on the right, really putting in the effort.
Wow, that's good.
Oh, no. Heavens. And worse than that, the rain renders sandpaper useless. So Australia, they don't know what
Another
to do.
anti-Australian rule.
It's ridiculous. Finally, to Steve's favourite event, he sent me this, the Florida Man Games, where the state's best and probably not brightest compete in a range of redneck sports, including beer sumo, that's what, mower burnouts, that's this one, Zorb fights, that's good fun, gator riding, look at this.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, and whatever the hell this is, I still don't know.
Lawn mowing.
Lawn mowing, I guess. Now, you guys won't believe this, but they do not drug test before that event. You know, that's crazy now, and we laugh at these athletes, but this competition is not a joke.
Well, where else are you going to find anything like this? Like, yeah, we've got the Olympics, and they've been around forever, but they don't have gator tossing.
It's true. But the 2032 Olympics are in Queensland, and if there's one place to bring in gator goddamn wrestling, get Bob Cutter on the board. It's going to happen. That was.
Another news, Liverpool, top of the league. Welcome back, you're watching the project on Guenther Steiner night.
I know.
I'm so excited about this.
The entire audience is here to see him as well.
Yeah.
And us.
And us, of course,
but
yes.
mainly Guenther. So
How do we deal with the swearing aspect to this?
You've got the beeper, I think. You bleep. You bleep. Yeah. We'll find it. We'll find it for you. Time for more of today's top stories. And it's highly unusual, but a cyclone watch is in place tonight for parts of northern New South Wales and southeast Queensland. Tropical Cyclone Alfred isn't expected to make landfall until later in the week, but where that will be is still unclear. Residents aren't taking any chances, cleaning out supermarket shelves. Surfers, meanwhile, are making the most of the conditions.
I mean, I flew up from Sydney for this.
It's good to see some good swell coming through. It's a good workout. I think it's going to go bigger the next few days, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. And due to the bad weather, a Lithuanian man who was trying to set a world record by rowing from San Diego to Brisbane has been rescued by the Australian Navy. Oramus Mokas called for help Friday night after being caught in rough seas east of Mackay.
The Qantas 737 jet bound for Perth has been forced to return to Sydney Airport after pilots reported smoke in the cockpit.
Oh, not good.
And Qantas 643, Pan, as advised, required immediate return to Sydney. Smoke on the flight deck.
Sam is correct. That is not good.
Not good.
But emergency crews were on hand when the plane touched down. Qantas says the smoke did not enter the cabin. Passengers were transferred to a replacement flight.
Retired cricketer Stuart McGill has returned to court where he's facing trial over the alleged role in a cocaine deal in Sydney. He's also accused of not telling police the truth about events leading up to his kidnapping in April 2021. McGill has denied facilitating the cocaine deal and has pleaded not guilty. His lawyer insists McGill, quote, simply introduced two people.
And when Cupid strikes, it's men who fall in love faster than women. In fact, on average, they fall in love almost twice as fast and more often, according to a new Aussie study. Women, on the other hand, fall in love much more slowly, but will likely have stronger, more intense feelings when they do finally commit. Researchers say it's men valuing quantity over quality.
You guys.
Well, in my experience.
Yeah, Steve?
Yes.
I think it's probably true.
Yeah.
You think?
Yes.
Really? You think you fall harder faster?
I haven't been married 3 times. I mean, I think I'm pretty qualified to talk about it, haven't I?
Yeah.
You're an expert in the area. I don't know. I think it's all about the person, right? Maybe I'm being soppy about this.
What do you mean?
Like, I just think it's like the amount you can't quantify it based on gender. I don't
but
think.
you can quantify how fast.
I know you can quantify it, but it's like, for example, it doesn't matter what gender they are. If they meet Steve Price, they fall in love.
You're so right. But how fast do they do that process? Everyone loves Pricey, but how long?
A long time.
Yeah.
A long time.
It
What
makes
do you
sense to me that women take a little bit longer to fall in love because obviously we're thinking it all through. We've already foreseen every single thing that may ever happen in that relationship to each other. We've already thought about it in like the first 7 minutes, and we just ruminate on that for a little bit longer.
So how long before you knew?
Me?
With Rob?
Actually, I
Don't
think
say 6 months.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. To be honest, it was the first time that he met my parents.
Oh, yeah.
And I wasn't there.
Did he sing them a song?
They did go to a concert of his, and I wasn't there. And my dad came up to him and gave him a big hug at the end of the show, and he like hung around with them all day. And I was like, oh, he's a keeper. I reckon that was 3 months in.
Hang on, so you'll only fall in love at the point where they meet your parents?
Well, it's very important.
I mean,
very important.
Yeah, but it's late.
It is late. I agree. It's late. Now, speaking of love, opposition leader Peter Dutton paid a visit to the Youth Development Foundation in Queensland this morning.
I don't understand this segue at all.
No, I'm just saying he's a lovable guy. And anyway, as we all suspected, Big Pete Dizzle, I've coined that term, is a huge hit with the kids.
Wow.
Anora and offer, and some current participants on a different program that are under different models. So
They're normally this quiet?
No.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Now, Pete's smiling because they can't vote, so who cares?
Now, Hollywood's Night of Nights at a very civilised 11 a.m. over here is done and dusted. And for an awards show celebrating movies, there sure was a hell of a lot of singing. With you Hollywood's biggest night opened with a Broadway banger. A slew of stars put together a Bond tribute. Diamonds are forever, forever, forever. Even host Conan O'Brien couldn't help getting in on the show tunes.
I won't waste time. He won't waste time. I won't waste time. He won't waste time.
With special guests, the June Sandworm and Dancing Deadpool. On to the actual awards, and Kieran Culkin beat out Aussie star Guy Pearce, using his win as a bargaining chip with his wife.
She said, I will give you 4 when you win an Oscar. Let's get cracking on those kids. What do you say?
Zoe Saldana either won her first Oscar or had a scary nightmare. Mommy! While others kept the musical theme rolling with their speeches.
And thank you to Emilia.
But let's get to the main game. Adrian Brody beat out Timothée Chalamet and Ralph Fiennes to claim Best Actor for The Brutalist. Enjoying the moment so much, he didn't want it to end.
And I'm wrapping up. Please, 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 I'm wrapping up. I will wrap up. Please turn the music off. I've done this before. Thank you.
But in the much-hyped musical showdown between Wicked and Emilia Perez, they both lost to a film you probably haven't heard of.
And the Oscar goes to Anora.
Anora. Oh, Anora.
An independent romance thriller, Anora, pulling off 5 wins, sweeping up almost all the major categories, including Best Picture and Best Actress.
This is a dream come true. I'm probably going to wake up tomorrow.
Writer, editor and director Sean Baker making Oscars history, becoming the first person to take home 4 for a single film.
This film was made on the blood, sweat and tears of incredible indie artists. Long live independent film. Yeah.
And you're all caught up. See you same time next year.
Good night. Take it easy.
Rodney Burke is one of our own Oscar nominees. He was up for Best Visual Effects for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which unfortunately lost out to Dune, but he's been kind enough to step out of, get this, the Governor's Ball on his way to the after party to speak to us. Rodney, it is a rule of nature that when an Australian doesn't win an Oscar, they were robbed.
Absolutely.
Were you robbed?
Look, absolutely. It was completely stolen off me. I don't believe that they let June get both the BAFTA and the Oscar this year. I feel outraged, absolutely outraged.
There's our headline. Thank you very much for your time.
No, look, in saying that, this year there was some like amazing competition against like Planet of the Apes, or Apes as we call it. You know, like June, amazing film. Wicked, again, amazing film. Aliens, like, you know, like it was a stiff competition. I don't know where we came in the rankings. They don't tell you that. They only have one winner and 4 losers, unfortunately. But I like to think we came a close second.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Rodney, would you consider adding sandworms to any of your future projects? They seem to do quite well come award season.
Absolutely. Look, sand, a funny suit, blue eyes, anything like that. Anything to get me an Oscar next year.
Rodney, congratulations. First time as a nominee. Can you take us inside that theatre? And what is it like when you're actually sitting there waiting for someone to rip open the envelope and announce the winner?
Oh, look, I'd like to pretend I'm an old hand at it now, but I'm not. It's you get this, you get a feeling of dread. It's like, you know, like I'm not a natural public speaker, so going up in front of, you know, like 1,000 or so of your peers, who are all going to be looking at you and analysing you, and, you know, like casting dispersions upon your attire, etc. You know, like it's quite intimidating. But in saying that, it's, you know, like what a rush. You know, like it's the pinnacle of movie making career. You know, like you don't get that many Oscars in your lifetime.
It also seems to be the pinnacle of freebies, potentially, Rodney. We heard the gift bags for nominees this year are worth about $200,000. Can you tell us what's in there? Do you have one?
I haven't been given a show bag yet.
What?
So
Not yet.
I don't know.
OK, so it's one to look out for.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, look, I will go searching, I have to say.
Geez, bad time to zip to the loo when they were handing those out. 200 grand. Get back in there, Rodney.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I was probably at the bar.
That is the most Australian way to forget a $200,000 gift back.
Yes, I will be drowning my sorrows.
Oh, Rodney, congratulations. This may not have been your night tonight, but you're going to have a great time, and we'll see you there next year. Thank you so much.
Look, there'll always be the next time. And thank you. Thanks for having me on board.
After the break, we'll produce it.
Welcome back. Now, Australia's most famous blood donor, James Harrison, has passed away at the age of 88. He was the world's most prolific donor, giving blood every fortnight for 70 years. He also donated plasma more than 1,100 times, helping save the lives of 2.4 million babies. That's because his blood contained a rare and precious antibody that could protect them from a potentially fatal condition.
What a contribution. Absolutely. Incredible. Another win for a private aerospace company. For the first time, a commercial spacecraft has successfully made it to the moon's surface without crashing or toppling over. Whoa. Developed by Firefly Aerospace, the lunar lander touched down without any hassles after 2 weeks in orbit. It'll now collect data for NASA before it runs out of power.
Y'all select the landing. We're on the moon.
The next full moon, I just won't sleep. I'll stare at it all night. Yeah.
And a Sydney woman has gone viral after using Airtasker to overcome painful high heels on a night out. At 1 a.m, she offered to pay $100 to anyone who would bring sneakers and socks to the club she was at. To her surprise, someone actually came through. Her followers applauded the move, calling it a genius hack.
Oh my God, my ankle socks! Is that crazy?
So, Georgie, did you get value for money?
Yeah. You know what, though? I wouldn't even have attempted to go and leave the house in high heels.
Really?
Ahead of a night out. No, that was me in my clubbing days in Brisbane. I am now,
I'm pretty sure somewhere around this office is a life-size cutout of you wearing heels.
Yeah, the highest of the heels I've ever seen. But that was me just walking from studio to photo shoot position and back, not a night out.
So then would you pay $100 to not wear high heels?
Don't be stupid. I mean, that's the most ridiculous, overprivileged, wanky thing I've ever heard of.
You don't think it's a hack?
Steve, just because you're happy to wear high heels doesn't mean everyone...
I actually wore high heels in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
You did,
Yes, I did. Anyway, I mean, that woman's got too much money, clearly.
I agree, $100 to do. It's not a hack as well. It's like people are like, great hack. It's like she lost $100. That's the opposite of a hack.
Would you be the person who brings the shoes? Are you running around going, I'll have $100?
Well, yeah, I do a bit of moonlighting work, so yeah, I could. I'm happy to take jobs where I can.
She got second-hand smelly sneakers. I mean, please.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, guys, the AFL is launching its opening round this week in Sydney. I'm very excited to go to the Swans. And a very smooth Mitch Lewis from Hawthorn showed he's ready to handle footballs, curveballs, pretty much any balls you want to throw at him.
Oh. So I was speaking to a mate and your name and the team came up and they said when it comes to the Hawks, they're described as young and sexy and everyone's very excited to watch them in action this year. What do you say to that?
Our ball movement is quite silky at times.
Oh. Mitch, what happens in the change room stays in the change room, mate. Come on. Needs to do some media training.
All right. Victorian union members have gathered to rally against the Allen government's plan to slash 3,000 public service jobs in a bid to rein in spending. But one proposed sector cull could wreak havoc on the state's waterways. Fisheries officers are the people who patrol and protect waters, but the Victorian team's about to be gutted.
There's a lot of very, very concerned former officers and investigators. We've done some very dangerous and difficult work over decades, and this can be undone in a heartbeat.
The Victorian Fisheries Authority has tabled a proposal to close 5 stations and replace 73 fisheries officer positions with 36 engagement officers, effectively removing the state's on-the-ground power to patrol.
They're shocked, they're angry, but they keep saying to me that they're really worried about the impacts on the marine environment.
Murray Donaldson, a 37-year veteran of the sector, has seen how bad things can get when there's no one patrolling fishermen.
If this proposal goes ahead, fish will become what tobacco is in Victoria currently, and that's pretty scary.
He and his team ran controlled undercover operations, working alongside police to catch illegal fishers.
We were dealing with offenders that had prior convictions. Some of the cases that we ran at that time revealed that one individual, in the space of 1 year, he was able to derive a benefit of $1 million from trafficking abalone interstate.
One of our most valuable seafood products, abalone, often sells for upwards of $100 a kilo, and Australia supplies 30% of the world's wild-caught abalone. The market is estimated to be worth $152 million. Murray fears once officers are taken off the job, organised crime will move in quickly.
You have to look at fish as a commodity, as organised crime will. It has a value, and what they'll be looking at is what is the risk of me being caught taking this fish and selling it on the black market? And if all these fisheries officer positions go, it'll be zero. And that's why we're seeing fire bombings and we're seeing competition between different organised crime groups. Now, this will happen with fish if all these officers are removed from their roles.
Established as the Victorian Fisheries Authority in 2016, fisheries officers don't just deter organised crime and overfishing, they inspect vessels, gear, licences and catches to ensure that fisheries laws and regulations like bag limits are obeyed. For decades, Dave worked on these waterways, only retiring in 2023.
I did one interception early on in my career where I had 234 King George juvenile fish in a fish bin. Well, that was just amazing. Another time there were 4,500 abalone in a boat. The boat was nearly sinking when they got to shore. We were working a roster where you could be on at any shift, night, morning, afternoon. The whole idea was to keep the evildoers guessing. And that's what we tried to do.
He's worried marine life will be raided overnight, destroying the delicate ecosystem.
The cryptic type species like abalone and molluscs on the coast here and crabs, they will be plundered within a year. They'll be gone and they'll never regenerate in those areas.
The Victorian National Parks Association warned these cuts will leave parks and wildlife virtually unprotected and vulnerable to widespread illegal fishing, spelling disaster.
80% of success is turning up. If you're not out there creating a visible deterrent, things are going to slip, and they will slip.
Fisheries officers conducted more than 8,100 inspections in the 3 months to September, including 349 patrols in Victorian marine parks, detecting 702 offenders.
We're doing the 24/7 type work, so you're out there at night when the likely incursions into the marine national parks will happen.
But the Victorian Fisheries Authority says over the past 10 years, the fisheries have changed, with people overwhelmingly doing the right thing, citing 90% compliance.
People are complying. There's the equivalent of a full MCG who aren't, that we know of. And there's a lot that we don't know of. And so you need to be out there constantly making sure that it doesn't slip out of hand. Because if it does, getting it back is a hard task.
Last week, the state government confirmed it's coming for Victorian public service jobs.
On the raw figures, between 2,000 and 3,000 VPS jobs would be expected to go.
While it says frontline services and integrity agencies won't be cut, the Treasurer says there are
grey areas between what some people think of frontline services and what others don't.
But retired officers Murray and David feel they are frontline workers, and the union holds grave concerns for the safety of officers if they're to be sent out alone.
They won't be able to approach certain people that are doing the wrong thing because there's a risk to their safety, especially if people are doing things in groups, and means they have to walk away from crime.
A 5-week consultation phase between the union and government is underway, but the legacy of what these officers helped build is facing extinction.
Fisheries officers are regarded with a lot of respect in all those communities. They understand the purpose of it, and they do a great job in representing themselves and the Victorian Fisheries Authority really well in trying to maintain and sustain our fisheries.
The Premier must be aware of the impact of taking away these fisheries compliance officers will have. She can and she should immediately intervene and stop this.
There's a lot of ways to save money. I wouldn't have thought that would have been a particularly smart thing to do. And you'd imagine that the Federal Environment Minister, Tanya Plibersek's probably going to intervene.
Yes.
I mean, when you look at that's crazy.
The thing that strikes me, I mean, I've never in my wildest dreams would I've thought about seafood as a black market, right?
Yeah.
But that seems to me actually the dangerous bit because...
Especially abalone.
Yeah, your radar's not up for it, right? Like, if it's drugs or something like that, you're kind of totally clued in.
But Australians consume a lot of seafood. We're a big seafood country.
But a lot of people go out and catch fish, and I mean, they might be, just under. Yeah. And you know those guys are around, so you don't take it, you let it go.
That's the thing, it's
if
the
there's
visible
no one
presence.
checking.
It's the visible presence of them that was mentioned in that story.
Yeah.
And also those rates with the compliance. Isn't there an argument, though, that everyone's complying because of the visible presence and because of the officers?
We don't need speed cameras. People don't speed as much. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
We need to give them a kiss, throw the fish back in, you know?
All right, we've got to take a break.
No, I'm just saying, that's what you...
More
What happened to that as a
Where
vibe?
did that go?
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Now, fasten your seatbelts and start your engines. It is time to race. Guenther Steiner is one of the biggest personalities in F1.
You have a perfect TV personality. At least I've got a career after this. Once I this one up.
Catapulted to stardom by reality series Drive to Survive.
Sensational lap from home.
How do you sum up your season then this year?
It's one short word. Shit.
It was here the former Haas team principal earned a reputation for testing drivers and TV censors across the globe.
I'm getting sick of answering the stupid questions on a race weekend. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. No, off. I didn't swear much, you know.
He might have officially left the paddock, but never our hearts. And now Guenther's ready to tell all on his time in F1.
Action.
Please welcome Guenther Steiner! Great to have you back on the show. You are the man to ask about this. We were talking earlier in the show about the swearing fines and penalties that are coming in for Formula One drivers. Just how much money would you have lost if this were around in your day?
First of all, hello and thanks for having me again. The nice things first, I actually... I don't know how much I would have got. I got fined once because, but I did something you shouldn't be doing, and I basically insulted the person, you know. And I had to pay $7,500, and that was maybe 7-8 years ago. You know, wasn't happy about that. But anyway, second time I got out of it, I talked my way out of it, and then I stopped doing it to people. But no, I mean, my opinion on it is. You know, a sport lives of emotions, you know, and when you're going 200 miles per hour and somebody cuts you off, you're not like there, oh, excuse me, can you do this differently?
Totally.
Yeah.
So do you think it will stick, or just what if all the drivers just swore more and then they would just have to like take it away?
But then they end up bankrupt, you know. So that's not good for them
then
because
there's no drivers.
You're saying.
It's
I think there's a flaw in your plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I like the swearing. Keep the swearing.
I think if you want to go to the Grand Prix, they don't let you in now.
They wouldn't let me in anyway.
Well, we love when it's the Australian Grand Prix because it brings you back every year, Guenther, to our shores. You're here for a speaking tour, I think, part of a live show. You don't strike me as someone who keeps a lot on your chest. Like, what do you have in store for us? What are you going to be telling us?
Yeah, no, I'm doing this show with the ghostwriter of my books. You know, we're doing this together, and it's we talk about a little bit of everything, the past, what we think about now, and it's. We did these shows last year in the UK. We did 25 of them, you know, people liked them, and then it was decided let's do them here, you know, to entertain people. So they are talking about the sport, but there is some humor in as well. It's not boring, just technical about tire pressures and wing setting, you know. There's more than that coming.
To my ears.
Is Gene involved? So, you know, one of my favourite things on the show was the boss of the team that you were heading up, Gene. And we never saw him. It was just you on the phone to him being yelled at, pretty much, while the cameras were rolling on a closed door. I just want to know that when you're on stage, Gene is in your ear.
I hope not.
The Australian Grand Prix, 2 Aussies now on the grid. You've got Jack Doohan, obviously his first year, and Oscar Piastri. We've got a lot of hope on Oscar trying to win a home Grand Prix. How good is he?
Very good, very good. I think he has got a good chance to win here, in my opinion. I mean, he showed that he's good because he can compete with Lando Norris, which is one of the best. So I think obviously the stars need to align. You need to have a good car, you need to have a good day. But I think he has got the first one after the testing last week. The McLaren, I think it's the best car. So I think it will be a battle between the two teammates because for the win, because I think that them two, they are at the same level as drivers, you know, Lando and Oscar, because Oscar now is in his 3rd year. He learned a lot. He won races last year. So, you know, he's ready, you know. So I think it could be interesting.
Is Oscar a future world champion?
Yeah, he can be. As I said, you always need to be in the right car. But in the moment, he could be already this year. I said it before. Sometimes this year, if he starts off good, you know, on the right foot, and I always say, Oscar, I don't know him personally very well. I know him from saying hello, but I know Mark, you know, and Mark Webber, which coaches him, which is very important because what Mark can teach Oscar is mistakes he shouldn't be making because Mark made them himself. So, you know, it's the best teacher to have, you know, and say, hey, let's take a shortcut here. Don't do this because I did it and got it wrong, you know.
Well, by that measure, Tony's the best coach in the world.
I'm ready. Call me.
Speaking about world champions, did you fall out of bed when you heard that Ferrari had taken on Lewis?
No, not really, but
he's 40. He's 40.
What's wrong with being 40? I'm 60 next year. Thank you.
We're getting old.
You know, They're getting old on now, but I think he's pretty fit and 40. Obviously, he cannot do another 10 years, but he has for sure got a few more in him. Like Fernando Alonso, he's a little bit over 40, and he's still good. And as we all know, when you get older, you get more experience and you get better at that one. So going racing, maybe it's even better than when he was 30, you know. Maybe qualifying one lap, you know, a young man is a little bit better, but then you make it up by being in the race because you have lived a lot of situations you're going into it.
Super quick, we've almost got to get out here. You started out as a mechanic, by the way. I've got an issue with my fuel filter. My car's in the car park. Can you come down and just have a little look?
Sure, yeah.
You're going to
No, I'm not. I have to be nice. I have to be nice.
Take it to the mechanic.
What if he pays you $7,500 and you can pay that fine?
It's better for you to take it to the mechanic. Right. I will make it worse, you know.
Tickets to see Guenther live are on sale now. All the information is on our website. Would you please thank Guenther Steiner?